Hey guys, so I had a company send me this wallpaper. The company is on Amazon called WXHFM. It's a 137-inch wallpaper for bedrooms or living rooms or wherever else. And I'm gonna go ahead and attempt to install this. I've never done something like this before. I'll show you the process and then I'll give you a little review at the end and share my thoughts. Keep in mind this wallpaper just comes with the wallpaper itself. The installation tools like the wallpaper adhesive, that's all separate. You'll have to get that yourself. Without further ado, I'll show you which tools I have ready for the installation and let's get to it. So real quickly, here's what we got. We have a foam roller and a little tray. The guide does specify to use a foam roller. You can see this top one, this is like wool. Foam was a little bit harder to find. I'm not sure how important that'll be, but yeah, they do say to use foam. You have a scraper, this is for air bubbles and just installing the wallpaper. A pencil for a guideline down the wall. Paintbrush, not sure what we'll use this for yet. Might come in handy, we'll see. Razor blade just to cut the wallpaper wherever needed. We do have a power outlet. I'll have to make a hole for it in the wallpaper. That's when this will come in handy. Painter's tape, not sure if we'll use it, and measuring tape. Also the wallpaper adhesive, 32 ounces should be enough. So I've laid out two of the pieces of paper side by side here. They're numbered at the bottom, so that's number 1. You can see it there, and then there's number 2. So I've learned it does go from left to right. So I'll probably be starting with number 6 on the right side. And if I get closer here, I'll show you kind of the material. It's like a harder paper. It's fairly thick, maybe like cardstock, or it does feel like a vinyl actually, I would say. I think it's a nice quality thickness. The finish looks pretty nice. I'm pleased with it. All right, I'm gonna start rolling the adhesive onto the wall now. We'll see how this goes on. First person point of view. Got some adhesive on here. You can see when I roll it in, you'll see it at first, right? And then it just disappears into the wall. I've gone over and reapplied glue now 3 times for this section. I think that'll be plenty, and I'm about to install the wallpaper. So apparently I didn't do enough adhesive the first time, or I just waited a little too long. It might dry really fast, I'm not sure. So we're gonna try this again. This time I will apply the wallpaper right away. All right, I've applied quite a bit more. It still kind of disappears into the wall. You can't see it very well. This should be enough, and we're now applying the wallpaper right away, so there's no time for it to dry. Let's try this one more time. Biggest thing I want to make sure is that it's lined up perfectly with the edge of the wall here. All right, here is where we're at for the night. It went all right. I think I'm gonna stop here and finish this up tomorrow. I think I'll get my girlfriend to help for the remainder pieces. All right, so day number 2 here. Now that I have a bit more experience under my belt, I'm gonna install the 3rd section and I'll just show you step by step the techniques and stuff that I'm using to do this. Okay, so for the next section, I'll give you a step-by-step process, and then for the rest of the install, I'll probably just do a time lapse. But first, we're getting the glue back out, and I'm just gonna dump a good amount here. And with the glue there, we're just gonna coat this. So I get the coat on at the bottom here, and then I can kind of rub some off at the top here, going over this surface. Ready to go. All right, so I'm gonna have to be fast here. Okay, I have my wet rag here as well. This is really important just for wiping off any excess glue that might bleed out the edges, especially when you're lining up the edge here. Sometimes it'll bleed onto the previous wallpaper you installed, and you can just easily wipe it off so it doesn't dry and ruin the wallpaper. One thing I'm thinking is I need to apply glue just right on the edge of the original wallpaper installed here, but I don't want to apply glue over the top of it. So I'm thinking I won't get too close with the roller, and I'll end up using the brush to kind of glue the final edge of the new wallpaper, just to minimize glue overlapping onto the installed wallpaper. Anyways, other than that, I'm gonna start rolling out the glue. You can also use a brush here at the top, just to make sure the glue gets deep in the edge, because the roller will not get the glue deep enough. All right, we got number 4 here, because we're going 6, 5, 4. All right, now I'm gonna line up the top here with the previous wallpaper. I can already tell using the brush with the glue at the top has helped secure this top piece. Now that I'm looking at the line on the right, the 2 wallpapers touching, it is not perfectly straight. So I can kind of just peel off the right side here and work it into where I want it. So I have the top done decently, and now I just want to make sure our vertical line lines up. I don't really want it to overlap, and I don't want there to be a gap. So it really needs to be perfect. And it's pretty dang close. Now once I have it aligned pretty much where I want it, just smooth it out onto the rest of the glue. We use our scraper to get out some of the air bubbles and move the glue towards the edges. Here you can see the seam I just did. Our left side might need a little bit of glue with the paintbrush just because I don't think it's perfectly stuck to the wall all the way down. You can see as we get lower, there's a little bit of a misalignment I was talking about. It doesn't really bother me. I think I'll just leave it as is. Okay, so Girlfriend did not improve with the imperfection, so I went ahead and just ripped it off and realigned it, which was really easy. Once it's on there, it's not permanent until probably the next day or a couple hours after it dries. So on pretty much all the edges, you can see pretty much easily peel it back. So I've been going over every edge once again with a brush and some glue. I just pull it back and I put on a good amount of glue there. So there's your example of what I've been doing on both sides once I install. And then once you have glue along the edge, you just come over with the scraper, push the glue out. I did a little bit too much glue there. You don't want a bunch of glue oozing out. And once you have it scraped onto the edge, you just take a wet washcloth and wipe away the excess glue. This will ensure our seam is nice, glued to the wall all the way down. And here we have it. Wallpaper is finally up and done. It actually turned out a lot better than I was expecting. I'm really impressed. The colors, the quality, the detail, everything is on point. Definitely recommend it in terms of quality. I will say it is difficult. It's a bit of a learning process installing. It's tedious. Time consuming, maybe 4 to 6 hours, but the end result was so worth it, and it's really rewarding and just turned out awesome. One thing about the material is it was just nice and thick, and it has this kind of subtle shine to it, and even the texture feels really nice. It just looks, it feels, everything about it is great. For some final tips, the hardest, most tedious part was by far the gluing process. So obviously you use the glue roller and you roll most of the glue on, but I found every time it wasn't quite enough glue to fully secure the wallpaper, especially the edges. The edges are the most important part. You need them fully glued and seamless with the wall, just so that the art transitions well with each wallpaper, and so that, you know, there's no like hanging flaps or anything. You never would want to be able to put your finger in there and be able to peel it back. In order to make sure all the edges were perfectly flush and glued, I would then use a paintbrush, and I would, after I had first stuck it on there with the roller, I'd use the paintbrush and I'd pull each edge back, and I would just brush along the edge from top to bottom, and then use a scraper to really secure the wallpaper into the wall and make sure that glue's stuck. And I did that for every single edge, even the bottom trim and the top trim. I used a little brush. Yeah, every edge was glued with the brush. So that really took a lot longer. Maybe there's better techniques, but that's just what I did to make sure the edges were perfect, and it turned out really good. So I'm glad I did that. It just added a lot of time to the install process. Another tip would be to have a partner helping you. So one person's up on a ladder, kind of holding the top. And then what we did was we had the second person kind of, one, making sure the vertical edges were aligned perfectly. So you don't want them overlapping the art, and you don't want a gap either. And then as well as being aligned, you need to make sure the artwork was aligned properly so that the art flows with each wallpaper and you don't have any weird disconnect. So to do that, you want to start about eye level. Make sure the art is connected properly eye level, and then work up and down from there. And I found that you can definitely peel off the wallpaper and readjust it, and you can kind of slide it around, move it around. It's never on there like permanently, not until you let it dry for a while. So if you do make any mistakes, just keep playing around with it, keep working it until you get it exactly where you want it. You do have to trial and error a little bit. It won't be perfect right away. And my final tip would be to use a metal, either scraper or like ruler, something to guide the X-Acto knife along the edge when you're trimming off the excess wallpaper. I did it by hand just because I couldn't find the proper tools to do it the right way. And so my lines are not like perfect on the top and bottom, which I was a little disappointed with. Not a huge deal to me, but yeah, I would just recommend for you guys to make sure you have a proper guide so you get clean cuts. Overall, final thoughts on the product. Do I recommend it? 100% yes, as long as you're up for the DIY challenge, the time investment, and as long as you're willing to, you know, be very patient, maybe watch some other guides, pick up some techniques and tips, because I mean, I'm not a professional. So you really plan it out, make sure your technique is on point. And yeah, if you're up for the challenge, I mean, the quality and end result is fantastic. I can't recommend that enough. And yeah, there's my final review. Totally recommend it. I had a lot of fun. And yeah, I hope this was informative and helpful. Thank you guys so much for watching, and good luck if you end up trying it out yourself.